Hey guys, so in today's video, I'm gonna be talking to you about something very, very different than what I've ever talked about before. This video is going to be talking about my post-college life and experiences and things that I have gone through, things that I've learned, advice that I have for the new graduates that are coming out there, whether you're the class of 2015 or any class, or if you just wanna hear this anyway. I'm really just gonna be having this conversation with you guys as a peer. Like I'm sitting next to you on your couch talking to you about this stuff. This is gonna be like a much more real life conversation. So I just wanted to say that before I get started. So first what I wanna say is congratulations to the class of 2015. I poured one up for you in this plastic flute. Well, this isn't a flute. I know that's really corny. I just want to say congratulations to you guys. I know I have a lot of graduates out there, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the things that influenced me and how I grew up, so that way you can either relate to it or not relate to it, but either way it'll kind of explain a little bit more about me personally. So my background growing up, I grew up with my mom and my 3 older brothers. And my mom was a single mom, so she raised the 4 of us by herself, and I do not know. She's like such a savage. I don't understand how she did it. There was no pressure on me to go to college. I know there are a ton of families out there, especially like more traditional families where there's a lot of pressure on the kids to go to college and become a doctor or whatever it might be, or just to go to college in general. But I never had the pressure or the like push, like you need to go to college, that's what you have to do next. I made that decision on my own to go to college, and the main reason that I made that decision was because I didn't know what the hell else I was gonna do. I grew up in Roseville, California, and it was just a small suburb of Sacramento, California, so there wasn't a ton going on there, so it was kind of like, okay, what am I supposed to do next? So I ended up making the decision to go to college, and I didn't know what path I was gonna take. I had no idea. I went in undeclared. I didn't know anything that I was about to do. When I was in high school, I was a straight A student, and that definitely changed as soon as I went to college. I guess you could say I kind of went crazy. I had the time of my life the first couple years, and I made a lot of bad decisions, I guess. I just think I was growing up, and I lived in a very strict household where I had a lot of rules for me, particularly because I was the only girl. So I went a little crazy when I went to college, and I partied a lot, and I did a lot of things that most college students do. So that's how I went into college. There was never a pressure, and I wasn't very, I guess you could say, like educated on different types of schools and universities and majors because nobody in my family went to school. So I didn't have like a really good understanding of what the difference between everything was and what an education really meant. I don't know, I don't wanna say uneducated, but I was uneducated on a lot of topics regarding college and education in general. But when I look back at when I was 17, 18 years old, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how much the things I did then would impact what I'm doing now. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you guys is where I went to school and what I went to school for. So my freshman year of college, I went to Long Beach State University, and the other 3 years I went to Sonoma State University, and there is a reason why I made the change. So when I went to Long Beach State, I only applied to 3 schools when I made the decision to go to college. I applied to 3 state schools, and the reason I applied to state schools because they were substantially less expensive than going to like a private university, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so I wasn't going to make the decision to pay more money for an unknown, I guess. I mean, I probably should have gone to a JC for 2 years, but I didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to do that, so I decided to go to a state school. The reason I ended up going to Long Beach State was because my best friend was going there at the time, but I wasn't very like educated in my decision of going to that school. It was just because it was like Long Beach and it sounded like fun living in Southern California. Honestly, that's like really what happened. I didn't even take a tour of the school before I went. That wasn't really in the funds to be able to go and visit campuses. I started to learn a lot of things about myself and just the way that I learn and the things that I need to do to be able to get something done. It was a commuter school. It was way too big. It was all lecture hall classes with like 200 plus people in each class. So I did really poorly my freshman year in college. Just being very transparent with you guys. I mean, it was very poor for me anyway. From going to a 4.0 to like a 2.9 was a really big deal for me, and I didn't like it. So I made the decision. It was actually in the first semester of freshman year. I decided I was gonna be transferring back up to a school in Northern California, and I decided to go to Sonoma State because it was a much smaller school. Classes were a lot smaller, and those were decisions, like as you get older, you start to realize the things that you need to be successful, and that was something that I knew that I needed, was to be in smaller class sizes because I needed to hold myself accountable, and that was the only way that I could do it. Also, what I figured out was that if I stayed at Long Beach State, it would take me at least 5 years to graduate, and I just didn't have that kind of money. I could not spend any more time in school than just like, I had to do like the minimum 4 years. There was no way I could do any more time. I couldn't afford it. I declared myself as a business admin major with a concentration in marketing marketing. When I think about it, like I'm being really, really honest right now, I don't know how valuable my actual education was regarding the topic that I majored in. My biggest takeaway from college was really learning about myself and learning how to be an adult. Money management was huge for me. The only time I didn't work when I was in college was my first semester of freshman year. My mom helped me out a lot, and I was able to not work my first semester, but all throughout the rest of college, I worked full time. Something really, really valuable that I got from college was just presenting myself to people, whether it's like meeting people, giving presentations in class. When you have group projects in school, how much you absolutely loathe them. But they do teach you a lot of life skills, even though I didn't know it at the time. Working with different people, working with people you don't know, doing presentations, a lot of that stuff is valuable, especially when you graduate. That would probably be like one of the most important things that I took away from school, was just learning how to present myself, how to talk to people, how to speak more eloquently. I know most of the time that I talk on Snapchat or even in my videos or on Instagram, like I kind of make up my own lingo. I'm not very professional. I'm not very mature. That's just because I like to have fun and I don't like to take my life too seriously. But when it comes to actually being serious, I think I'm capable. I would say spending all that money and having all the debt that I have now was worth it for that alone, which is pretty powerful that I'm actually saying that out loud, but I really feel like that was the most valuable thing that I took away from college. A lot of questions you guys asked me is if I could go back, what would I have done differently? I would have taken way more advantage of the benefits. And the only reason I throw my air quotes around benefits is because you are paying a lot of money for those benefits. All like the marketing clubs or language clubs, whatever clubs you can go to on campus, do it. Scholarships, didn't take advantage of any scholarships. And believe it or not, there's a lot of money out there that is available for scholarships. And that's something I never looked into. I guess you could say I was lazy. I just didn't think I was like worthy enough of getting a scholarship. Like in my head, I always thought you had to be really good at sports or you had to be a total brainiac, you know, going to Stanford kind of thing to get a scholarship. So I honestly kind of use that as an excuse to not even look into it. So that was pretty much pure laziness on my part. So in college, I worked full time. I worked at In-N-Out all 4 years of college, and I'm really thankful that I had that job actually, even though there were times when I loathed it. I think internships can be extremely, extremely valuable. I never looked into internships because I always told myself I can't afford to work for free. And honestly, I don't even know, some of those internships could have been paid. I don't know because I never even looked into it. But I think having that experience would have been really valuable for me after I graduated, because after I graduated, everybody looked at me and I said, oh, but I have a degree. And they're like, okay, but all you know how to do is flip burgers. I never did any internships. I wish that I did. I mean, I say that I wish that I did, but I'm very happy where I am right now. And I'm very thankful for all the experiences that I've had. It may have taken me a few more years than other people, but I mean, I also learned a lot along the way. I don't really regret anything that I did. Also, if I could go back, I would not have gotten a loan from Sally Mae. She's a biatch. So I think it's like a pretty common perception. It definitely wasn't my perception that once I graduated, I would have this wonderful job and be making all this money because I had a degree. I didn't necessarily have that view, but I know a lot of people did, and I know a lot of people still do. It's not really that easy. I think a lot of people go through a phase after they graduate college where it's kind of like, okay, like everybody's just kind of waiting, like what's gonna happen next? Is somebody gonna reach out to me? And sadly, that's not really how it happens. I personally went through, I think it was like 2 years of kind of job hopping. I ended up quitting In-N-Out like 6 months after I graduated because I just couldn't do that anymore. I had to just change something because I was there for like over 5 years. I don't know, I didn't have a plan. I would apply for jobs that I thought I was qualified for just because I had a degree, but employers really value experience. I was just like a 21-year-old with a degree that worked in In-N-Out. I didn't really have the experience that employers were looking for. So that was pretty challenging for me. It was a really difficult phase that I went through. It was a lot of rejection. I think a lot of people go through that once they graduate college. They just don't really know what to do next. Like in high school, they kind of trick you into thinking that there's just so much out there once you graduate and it's just gonna be so easy, but it's really not easy. It's really, really hard. It's really all part of growing up and learning about yourself. I really just got to know myself like in that stage of my life. The most important thing is to like set expectations for yourself and push yourself. Don't give up. Don't pity yourself because nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, especially employers, and nobody's gonna care more about your future than you do. It's pretty much gonna be up to you to get on the right path and figure it out and to become successful. Granted, everybody has their own definition of what is successful to them and what makes them feel successful. I think it's also important to say that too. Like, some people being successful is driving a Mercedes, and to some people being successful is being married and having a family. And to some people, being successful is something totally different. I mean, I'm just trying to say that everybody has their own idea of what's successful. So you have to figure out what that means to you and really reaching towards your own goals instead of what society has put out there for what success means. It doesn't necessarily mean to be wealthy or to have a lot of money or to live in a really nice place. It's just something that you have to figure out yourself and then figure out how you're gonna get there, which is the hardest part. Don't feel bad for yourself because there's so many other people out there experiencing the same thing and the same feelings. But take those emotions and use them to motivate yourself. That's what I had to do, because I did go through a phase of feeling bad for myself and like having little pity parties in my head, like, oh, I didn't go to college to do this kind of thing. And it's not gonna help you. It's very common to struggle a lot after you graduate college. There's gonna be a lot of rejection, there's gonna be a lot of competition, and that's like with any career path that you choose, but you just have to not give up. Like, you just have to keep trying and trying and trying and applying and applying and applying and possibly getting a lot of rejection. I dealt with so much rejection, it hurt. And I still deal with rejection, like we all do. Don't feel like you're going through it alone. There's so many other people that are struggling and going through something like similar to what you're going through. So I think the most important thing to remember is to just keep trying and don't give up. So I think that is like my biggest takeaway, I guess, from my post-graduation. People say like quarter life crisis or like post-graduation anxiety or post-graduation depression. You just have to move on and you have to grow up and you have to figure it out, basically. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about that goes along with like post-graduation is networking and utilizing your resources. So the first thing I want to talk about is utilizing your resources. And what do I mean by that? I mean taking advantage of everything you possibly can. That is something I didn't do when I was in high school. I didn't do it in college. I really started to figure it out when I graduated college, and it was, I mean, it's better late than never, but I wish I knew sooner. And it's even things as simple as the internet is what I'm really gonna focus on, because it's something that not everybody, but a lot of people have access to. So one site that I wanna talk about that's really useful and valuable is called LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a platform kind of similar to Facebook, I guess you could compare it to, but it's not about connecting with friends and family. It's about connecting with other professionals, employers, recruiters, all kinds of different people. And it's basically a place that you can post your online resume and connect with different employers and recruiters. I keep saying recruiters because there are so many recruiters on LinkedIn that are looking for people to hire. And if you can get in touch with those people or the right people, that will help you a lot in getting a job. Hopefully. I spent hours and hours and hours on LinkedIn and Craigslist looking for jobs, applying for jobs. And for every like 1,000 emails I sent out, I would maybe get 1 or 2 replies. For the hours that I spent on LinkedIn, I even paid for like the premium subscription to LinkedIn, just that way I could email one person. And I ended up getting in touch with the recruiter, and it ended up getting me an interview. It was a couple months later, but you know what? I ended up getting the interview, and I went to 5 different interviews with that company, and I drove up to 2 hours away for these interviews. And ultimately, I didn't end up getting the job. But it's just to show you guys that like you can make those connections that will actually lead to something. I think a lot of people look at LinkedIn and think like, okay, well, nothing's ever gonna come of it. If you put enough of yourself out there, you'll probably get something in return. So that one connection that I made was with a recruiter through LinkedIn, and everything that happened with those interviews, those 5 interviews that I did, was because of LinkedIn. And even though I didn't get the job, I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about interviewing. And even though it didn't end the way that I wanted it to end, it was still a really good learning experience for me. So using LinkedIn is a really great tool, even if you go to like a company that you really want to work for. Say it's Walmart. Walmart's CEO has a LinkedIn account, and then he is somehow connected to the VP of marketing for Walmart. And then that VP of marketing for Walmart is connected to 3 recruiters that he just sent out to go hire 20 people to do whatever it might be. Anyway, if you end up on their page, you could see they might have an email address that you can email and send a resume to and potentially get in touch with them to get an interview. So it's just like all those connections. It's kind of like a spider web of professionals that you can connect with on LinkedIn. Another one is Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a website. It's also an app that I have on my phone still. I would compare it to Yelp. You know how Yelp is like to read reviews of businesses as a customer? Glassdoor is like that, but it's for employers or companies, and it is what employees leave reviews for. And I have used Glassdoor so many times, and it has saved me many, many times, because not only can you see like reviews of employees working for a certain employer, but you can also see there's like different tabs on there. You can go and see what the salaries are, like what they range in for different positions. You can also see interviews, which is like, I can't tell you how many times that has saved me. People leave so much information about how that particular company interviews people, and it is a very, very helpful tool. When I interviewed for Target, I spent hours and hours and hours on Glassdoor reading every single review for every single interview, writing down every single question. I had a story prepared for every single potential question that I would get asked. Most large companies or corporations have pretty similar interview styles where they ask you like the situational questions, tell me about a time. But you know what, when I was 22 years old, I didn't really know a lot about that. So it was so helpful to me to like go in there and see what people said and what questions were asked. And then that's when I started doing more research. Once I found out like the style, like the format of their interview, then I could go online and do a lot of research on more questions that they might potentially ask me and get to know about those things. Something else that really helped me, which is kind of weird to say, but whenever I had an interview and I found out that person's name that was gonna be interviewing me, I did my research. And some people might think that's weird, but anything you can do to give yourself the upper hand in an interview, you should take advantage of. So if you have the name of somebody that's interviewing you, I would go to their LinkedIn profile. You can see where they've worked before. Maybe you have something in common because they have their hobbies on there. I mean, there's so many different things out there, and I know it sounds creepy, but it can really, really help you. It can help to establish a relationship with the person that's interviewing you. And even though it might seem like shady, that's what you have to do to get to where you want to go. You have to take those extra steps to make that connection with the person that's interviewing you, just to stand out that much more with the other potential thousands of people that are interviewing for that same position. So even if it sounds weird, who cares? If you get the job, it was worth it, right? And then the other thing I had to talk about was networking. I think networking is probably the most important thing you could possibly do. So like if they have mixers at your college or something, go. If they have companies coming out, or if they do college fairs or whatever, go. I never went to any of those things, and I really, really wish that I had. Even if it's just to meet people, even if you make yourself look like a buffoon, at least you have that experience of meeting somebody and meeting a company and be like, okay, don't do that again. I think those experiences are very, very valuable. At least you had them when you're younger than when you're in an interview with that company. And then also just networking with those people. Get people's business cards, get to know their name, find out what they do at that company. All those kinds of things are so, so important. When I graduated college, I had zero connections. Like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody at any company. Like I knew nothing. And that did end up hurting me. I had to pretty much start from zero. So a lot of people ask me, how did you get that job at Target? Or how did you get that job through Sephora? Every job that I got pretty much after like my serving position was from knowing somebody. If you work with people and they end up leaving and going to another employer, just keeping in touch with those people is gonna be very valuable for you in the future. Not burning any bridges, don't do anything stupid. When I got the job at Target, when I got the job at Sephora corporate office, that was through connections and knowing people through other jobs. Just knowing somebody that is in a position at that company is gonna give you so much more leverage and a much better chance of actually getting a job than just going in there not knowing anybody. I think networking is like the most important and valuable thing that you could do. A lot of people ask me on Twitter about loans and financial stuff with college. I mean, I don't really wanna say a lot, really. Talking about loans, everybody is so different, so I don't wanna say too much about that topic. Do your research, know what you're getting yourself into, know what you're signing, and really, really, really think about, when I graduate college, 6 months after that, will I be able to afford to start paying this back? I had almost $20,000 in debt when I graduated, and that was with working full time, paying all my own expenses, paying my rent from my income that I was making. So that was just my debt. After that, I had financial aid my first 2 years of college, and then I ended up losing it. So my junior, senior year, I was completely on my own. And I remember the first day I found out, I flipped out. I didn't even cry. I was just like, fuck, you just have to figure it out. You just have to make it work. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I pretty much lived off of In-N-Out my whole college career. That's why when you guys see pictures of me from when I was in college, a lot of you ask me how I lost weight after I graduated. I just wasn't eating In-N-Out twice a day. All right, so now I'm just gonna do a little Q&A from questions that you guys asked me directly on Twitter. So the first one was about student loans and how are you managing your debt? So I graduated college in 2010 and I had a little less than $20,000 in debt. And I checked today and I am at less than $7,000 now, which I know is still a lot of money. I paid off my Sallie Mae loan completely last year, and that was like, I literally threw a party for myself. I didn't put it off. I didn't try and like, what is that, forbearment? Where is it, where you like put off your loans? I forget what it's called. I didn't do that. I started paying right away. Do I have any regrets? I don't have any regrets because I think everything that I've gone through and everything that I've dealt with and all the experiences I've experienced up until now have shaped me into the person that I am. I haven't done anything like crazy horrible that I would feel the need to regret or wish that I didn't do. I feel lucky to have gone through everything that I've gone through actually and to have experienced the things that I've experienced. I have a lot of gratitude for my mom and everything that she did for me. I would love to be able to like help her out one day and take care of her and like buy her house. I think that would be like the coolest thing ever. I feel successful, like for my definition of success, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I have a husband that I love. Okay, so somebody else asked me, would I go again? I don't know. It's like really hard for me to decide. I think I have learned so much about myself through college that I would like to have that experience again if I had the choice. It is very hard for me to sit in a class and to actually do homework. I like physically, I know that I could not go back to school. Like I physically know this about myself, that I could never like go to grad school. Like my friend is going to grad school, my brother's in law school right now, and I'm just like, how? What is the best financial advice I ever got? I don't know, I'm still waiting for it. Have I ever felt like giving up? Yes. I think the hardest time for me was right after I graduated college because I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do with my life. And I know so many people go through the same thing, but I knew how unhappy I would be if I did give up. So that's why I kept pushing myself. I actually used those feelings to motivate myself to do something different. When I was in college, did I ever feel like giving up? No. Did I hate it sometimes? Yes. What good would have come of me quitting halfway through? I don't see what I would have benefited if I did that. It was never even an option like in my mind to just not go anymore. It was like, I started this, I'm gonna finish it, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes I thought to myself after I graduated college, like, I wish I just went to cosmetology school instead. Ultimately, for me personally, I'm glad I didn't do that because I just think I got a different experience that helped me more in the long run. For me personally, I'm not saying anything about anybody else. Just for me personally, I think it was more valuable for me, and I think it was crucial for me that I went to college at the time that I did because I don't think I could have gotten myself to go later on in life. So that pretty much wraps up this post-college life and everything in between video. I know it's probably like really out there and it's probably really long. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but I hope it was motivating for you guys. I know some of the things that I said were very, I don't know if you would call it not motivating, but it was something that I guess that I wish that I heard earlier on, just to kind of like, hey, wake up. I don't know, I just wanted to be like really real with you guys and very candid and very transparent and really tell you guys like everything that I felt, everything that I experienced. I wanted it to be like a peer-to-peer conversation where I am very honest with you. And I know some of the stuff in here might be controversial or you might not have liked it, but I just wanted to be very brutally honest and tell you guys about my experiences. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will definitely be connecting with you guys. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, we can also talk on there. I'll probably be talking about it on Snapchat right after I upload this video because I'm actually a little bit nervous about posting this one just because it's so different and it's not sugar-coated, I guess you could say. It's a very real conversation. I'd love to hear about your guys' experiences and thoughts. So other than that, that pretty much wraps up this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and thank you so much for watching.